When I was in 7th grade, I received a letter from Duke saying that my score on the SAT qualified me for Duke's summer program called Duke TIP. At TIP, unique courses are offered to teenagers all across the Southeast. There seemed to be something for everyone, from foreign policy to advanced math courses, from anthropology to myths and legends, from science on the Appalachian Trail to experimental science. I found my niche in psychology. I had always been interested in the inner workings of the human brain, and I took a course taught by a psychology major who was just as enthusiastic as me and my classmates about the course material. I had a great time, both in the classroom as well as doing more camp-like activities. What's most important to note, I felt way less stressed out at TIP than I did during the school year. There are no grades at TIP. As long as you take steps towards understanding the course material and put in effort during class, you get a positive evaluation at the end of the term. Many of my fellow tipsters love TIP, yet dislike school. And not everyone at TIP is the kind of person you'd expect to drop all their summer plans of sleeping in and goofing off to go to a college and take a course just for fun. Yet, they all really loved the experience because they were studying things that they actually had an interest in. The wide range of teenagers, both in ability and background, that participate in TIP suggests that, in spite of what we all assume, teens actually do love to learn. Shocking, I know. This experience, this freedom of choice, this idea that kids could love learning as long as they're studying what they want to study, got me thinking about how we could give students the same freedom in school. In order to investigate this, I surveyed 350 students at Mountain Brook Junior High about their outlook on school. When asked what the purpose of school is, most said, to learn, to better prepare for life, to become educated. But when I asked why they came to school every day, most said, because I have to, because it's the law, because my parents make me. This attitude towards school is really concerning. If these students are feeling forced in school now, how will that impact them in higher levels of education where they have more freedom? I also asked them what extracurricular activities, hobbies, or interests they had outside of school. And I got a lot of different answers, from various sports to singing to writing. Most students said that school, and homework in particular, prevented them from devoting time to these pursuits. In addition, most students said they put in much more effort in classes they were interested in than ones they weren't, regardless of what kind of attention their grades actually needed in the course. On one of my last questions, I let the students design their own schedule. And you know what I found? A majority chose classes that aren't even available at the junior high. Things like psychology and marine biology, more focused art courses like ceramics, and even guitar. And you might think that students would choose more electives because they require less effort, but none of these are courses that kids can just shrug off. Having more academic electives that got kids excited about science and history would be great, and more arts courses would spark creativity. Students should be able to suggest new courses to their administration. In fact, they should be encouraged. These students in high school have little time to participate in anything outside of school other than their extracurricular activities and what's covered up by their homework. So what happens when someone's personally motivated to learn something outside of school? Is someone really going to research psychology when they have 3 tests tomorrow, an essay due, and a soccer practice to go to? Sadly, no. Of course not. But schools shouldn't let students' interests be left in the dust just because they don't have room for an elective. How can schools give students time for this, and will it really be worth it? TIP was my chance to explore my interests, but not everyone has access to summer programs like that. But really, should summer programs be the only place where kids explore their passions and discover new interests? Why are kids having to wait until school's out to learn about things they actually care about? Doesn't that seem backwards? There's a way that companies and classrooms have allowed individuals to explore their interests in a protected way. It's called Genius Hour. Essentially, Genius Hour gives individuals time to research and start projects on anything that interests them. One company that's had great success with Genius Hour is Google. If you've ever used Gmail, you have Genius Hour to thank. Google let their development team spend 20% of their time at work working on anything they thought had the potential to benefit the company. And it resulted in innovative new software like Gmail, Google Maps, and Google Talk. You might be thinking, cool concept, but what does this have to do with schools? How does it apply to students? Many classrooms all across America have had great success with Genius Hour. Teachers can give students a period a day or a period a week to work on whatever interests them. Projects can include building, drawing, writing, or creating a website. Most teachers said that while it's seemingly stressful with all the possibilities, it's actually really manageable, given that it requires little effort from the teacher other than what the students put into every Genius Hour period. Think about it. The students are giving up the control and handing it over to the students. The students are doing all the planning and work and yielding all the rewards. It's a win-win. Most importantly, passion and interest-based programs like Genius Hour allow students to explore things they care about without having to fixate on a grade. Here at Genius Hour at MBJH, one student, Sean Fridella, designed a fundraiser for pediatric cancer called Pediatric Retreat. He and other students organized the entire thing and raised over $13,000. That's students getting involved in an issue they actually care about and taking upon themselves to enact change. Another student, Chip Porter, spent his time building an electric guitar. That's evidence of both a creative drive and problem-solving skills. When you give people this time to explore their interests, they can end up giving something even greater back. And while all of this sounds great, not every individual has the mindset for Genius Hour, and that's okay. In a class of 20, there's bound to be a handful of procrastinators, but the only people being hurt by this is the individual themselves. If these students can't find anything they want to pursue in a 1-hour period, how do we expect them to make big decisions later in life when they go off to college? Wouldn't it be better for them to find out what they care about and make these decisions now rather than later when they're all on their own? While Genius Hour is one possible solution to help kids pursue their passions, it certainly isn't the only way. Parents. All your children have many different interests. Be an advocate for your kids' specific passions and encourage them to spend their time doing what they think is worthwhile. If you find them saying, "I'm never gonna use this in real life," ask them what they will use and how they can learn it, preferably after completing their mandatory homework. Using this time can allow students to be fueled by their own curiosity in school. If your students are convinced that there are things much more important than your class, challenge them. Allowing them freedom enables them to get the passion for learning back. And if there may not be room for a person's specific interests, you can still let students choose what part of a curriculum they want to learn about, allowing them to pursue their interests still. Students. Although electives aren't necessarily a part of your GPA, they're valuable classes that help you become a more well-rounded individual. Choose electives that you're actually going to enjoy, and alert educators to ones that aren't taken seriously or aren't even available. If you love something, don't let schoolwork let the passion fade. In the wise words of Mark Twain, don't let school get in the way of your education. Passion is the driving force behind innovation. It writes books, builds skyscrapers, and cures diseases. Regardless of whether it's at home, at school, or at a summer camp, we must utilize it.